Firstly, I want to begin this by saying I have an immense love for the game of Buddyfight. I started at the beginning of the X series with the Prism Dragons deck. It was a ton of fun. Of course, as I played more, I started to get more competitive. And for Springfest 2018, I entered the team events with an amazing Toilets deck that is by far my favorite deck to this day. As I played at my regionals, I noticed a high amount of OTK decks. Looking at the top decks from Springfest, which was the team events, almost all teams had Thunder Empire and Chaos. I found that the counter meta at that time was bouncing, which was Toilet's specialty. But of course, Toilets being in the top tier couldn't stay because someone found Menjo loot and it got banned. But my feelings for the Menjo ban are not for this video. This video is talking about the changes I saw in the meta and how I feel about the game as it stands now. So I was at the Chicago Regionals in 2018, this year in August. It was actually really small, only having 58 players, and 46 or 47 at the end of the event. I entered the event playing Cosmo Dragons. I had no intention of winning. I went to have fun and just play. Well, to my surprise, at the beginning of round 4, I was undefeated. See, I had a lucky pairing in the first 2 rounds, then in the 3rd round played a friend who was playing dry and bricked really hard. But see, it was round 4 that made me look at Buddyfight and just scream internally, and led to me making this video. See, I played the player who ended up winning the entire event, and he was piloting a 5th Omni deck, and I actually have not seen this deck before. I had no clue how it played, nothing. But see, it was this deck that I stopped having fun at regionals. As previously stated, I had no intention of winning. My intentions were to have fun, but this deck removed that factor. See, 5th Omnis is a shutdown deck mixed with the first turn kill strategy that has been plaguing Buddyfight meta for a long time. I just wanted to start by explaining how this deck pushed me to the point of actually debating selling my decks and just focusing on Vanguard. So first things first was the shutdown board. Let's start with the main card. 5th Omni, Super Dragon, Cavalry Dragon, Sandstorm Staff, Arcade. Arcade? Yeah. This was the playmaker of the deck. A size 3 that when you are dealt damage of any kind, even your own, gains you a gauge, a draw, and a life. Yeah, that's strong as is, with double attack and soul guard as well. But just like Billy Mays, there's more. After you draw a card, you may call a 5th Omni from your hand by paying its call cost, and they become size 0. This is once per turn, but you'll see why this is huge when I get to the next 2 monsters. 5th Omni, Super Dragon Lord, Imperial Tenbu. Wow, what the fuck is this? As a size 3 Omni Lord, when it enters a field, or you are dealt damage, destroy all monsters on your opponent's field, shutting down their board. This activates once per turn as well. Oh, and double attack and soul guard? But that isn't broken. You can only have, one size 3, as says the people who think Lost World will fix Buddyfight. No, Arcade will call this to reduce the size to 0, and when it enters, you're destroying your opponent's field. Oh, and take note of that once per turn part, because it means little to nothing. Oh, did I mention a crit of 3 with that double attack? Yeah, not as bad as bots swinging with triple attack for 7, but when every card in this deck is double attack and a minimum crit of 2, it becomes a real hassle. Next up we have 5th Omni Dragon Sky Emperor. Mugen Drum? Okay, why does this drum have so many weird names? So this card I need to throw in because it is played. It's nothing I didn't expect. Double attack soul guard size 2, though size doesn't matter in this deck. And when you're dealt damage, destroy a monster in your opponent's field and gain 1 life. Not the worst thing, but did you notice something? Bushi, what the fuck? You forgot that little line that says this can only activate once per turn. What is this, amateur hour? No, but seriously, Bushi, I like you, but this isn't cool. Oh, I'm just gonna ping myself 1, which is super easy with this deck, and destroy your monster. Then do it again. Oh, and each time I ping 1, I gain 1, so I'm not losing anything. Plus, Arcade and Tenbu, yeah, this is where bullshittery is apparent. Alright, so let's talk about the deck's weapon. Alright, this is 5th Omni Dragon Sword Drago Brave. Glad that Drago Brave is still remembered to this day. But what is this? Equip cost is some bullshit as it is. 1 card from your hand into its soul, 1 gauge, and 1 damage? You take a damage. Not paying a life, you're taking a damage. See, that is the part that's kind of bullshit because it's setting you up. It sets up all of your plays, which that's not how this deck should be doing things. But remember how in the anime, they boasted the Great Gal formation, you know, this open center formation where you attack with your items? Well, even though this is a Gao deck, it doesn't use that, which is kind of odd. No, because this card, as long as you have an armor dragon on your center, can attack through center. Now, when you are dealt damage, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and gain a life. If it's your turn, draw a card. Once per turn effect. Okay, sure, whatever. It's pretty standard with what I can expect. Oh, and a crit of 3. So, this isn't... What? So there's one last card I want to talk about, and I saved it for last because you might look at it and go, what? 5th Omni Cavalry Dragon, Mirak SD. Oh boy. So for one, he reduces size to 0 just off the bat. Cannot be called to center, crit 2, whatever, no call cost. But what is this? Counter. Choose an armor dragon on your field for this turn. It gets +1 power and defense and penetrate. And you take 1 damage. Activate this once per turn. No. This is the card that made me just silently pack my deck and walk away from the table. This is a pretty optimal build to destroy your opponent. You need Tembu and Mirak SD. Your opponent enters attack phase with their monsters, and you use Mirak to give whatever is in your center the effects. Usually arcade. Oh hey, you took damage? Well, looks like your opponent loses most of their board unless they have soul or cards that can't be destroyed by effects. This board is too strong, and it makes it to the point where if you aren't playing against it if you're playing against it and haven't built a deck specifically to fight it, you don't get to play. This is what happened to me. Now Bushi, what is the idea? This is just one of the decks that was bonkers at regionals. Sun Dragons were running everywhere, just destroying. Thunder Empire was strong as it has been for like the past year. Chaos was being chaos. I mean, there's so many decks now that just remove any player interaction and become a game of who wins the dice roll. I mean, did you learn nothing from Dragoborn? Dice rolls shouldn't decide games. But I feel it's appropriate to say this is a very good deck, and the person who played it was a great player. I was upset over the loss due to it being a waste of my time since I didn't play. But really, I am not discouraging anyone from playing this deck. It's a great deck. Should you be playing against this deck, it's very hard, and I suggest plenty of easy nullifies as well as interrupts for battle, such as destruction effects, bounce effects, and counter calling. See, if it wasn't for the fact that almost all cards in this deck have Soul Guard and a Soul of 1, I'd say fuck it, flush them with toilets or something. But that isn't the case. Really, you need a one-turn deck of your own, and you need to go second and pray they don't set up. I complain about this because this is one of the many decks in the format that just come down to dice rolls, and I don't think that is healthy for a game. When games end turn 1 or 2, it isn't a game. That is why Vanguard had around 200 players, and Buddyfight only had 58, and Weiss had over 100 players as well. I wanted to make a video all about the power creep of Buddyfight and how Ace will affect it. The problem is, it's hard for anyone to continue playing unless they want to build these uninteractable decks, and don't get me wrong, I will still be playing Buddyfight at my locals. I'm just not going to be playing competitive anymore. I'm going to stay away from that like they just swung a crit of 7 at me. But look forward to more videos about this subject, and maybe other shit posting. I have a few ideas. But one more thing I wanted to add in, and this is kind of like an after note that I made. This is a result of something called low cost, high reward. See, most decks should have high cost, high reward, or low cost, low reward. It's saying like you're paying 1 gauge and you're getting a decent reward because you're spending your resources on these card effects. So why is it that Arcade, you pay 2 gauge to call it and get a soul, but you're pretty much getting that 2 gauge back by your opponent's turn? That doesn't sit right with me. See, this is a huge thing, alright? I'm paying 2 gauge for Arcade, and then I'm getting a gauge, a draw, a life, and a size 3 becoming a size 0. That is not healthy, because it gives this one deck such a huge advantage over all the other decks. That's why flags like the Chaos are so limiting. You know, you start with 4 cards in hand instead of 6. You know, that's called a balancing act. It's because of the high reward that you get from playing the Chaos, you know? But this isn't that. This is, we're just gonna OP this deck. Ooh, no. And don't get me wrong, Ace will not be completely fixing this whole situation. It's probably gonna do none of it. People who think that Lost World is going to fix it, no, Lost World is just going to make this deck even better. Yeah, sure, the new stuff is going to definitely slow down the game just a little bit, but I don't think it's actually going to matter unless you draw into your fucking stall cards, which there's only about 8 per deck, you know, like total. Like, there's 2 cards that you run at 8, or 4 each, you know? And it doesn't happen. This deck just shows low cost, high reward. And that should not be allowed in Buddyfight. Thank you all for listening to me talk shit about this dumb card game. But I talk it because I love this game. And I love everything about it, except for these parts. I feel like a game like this should be more interactable. I should be able to say, okay, I survived a turn. No, I had so many people come up and talk to me at regionals, and everyone was telling me how they got one turned. It's not even a game at this point. It's just dice rolls, and that's not cool. But I hope you guys will stick around and watch other videos on my channel that I will be posting in the future. See you then.